Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Science, Part 7. From Sri Aurobindo. When the scientist says that, scientifically speaking, God is a hypothesis which is no longer necessary, he is talking arrant nonsense. For the existence of God is not, and cannot be, and never was, a scientific hypothesis or problem at all. It is, and always has been, a spiritual or metaphysical problem. You cannot speak scientifically about it at all, either pro or con. The metaphysician or the spiritual seeker has a right to point out that it is nonsense. But if you lay down the law to the scientists in the field of science, you run the risk of having the same objection turned against you. Still, in the heyday of physical science, before it discovered its own limitations and the shakiness of its skin of things, floating precariously in a huge infinity or boundless finite of the unknown, there was perhaps some excuse for such an attitude. But spiritualism glorified under the name of psychical research? That is not a science. It is a mass of obscure and ambiguous documents from which you can draw only a few meager and doubtful generalizations. Moreover, so far as it belongs to the occult, it touches only the inferior regions of the occult, what we would call the lowest vital worlds, where there is as much falsehood and fake and confused error as upon the earth, and even more. What is a philosopher to do with all that obscure and troubled matter? The yogic view and the current opinions about supernatural phenomena. If I write about these questions from the yogic point of view, even though on a logical basis, there is bound to be much that is in conflict with the current opinions. For example, about miracles, the limits of judgment by sense data, etc. I have avoided as much as possible writing about these subjects because I would have to propound things that cannot be understood except by reference to other data than those of the physical senses or of reason founded on this alone. I might have to speak of laws and forces not recognized by reason or physical science. In my public writings and my writings to sadhakas, I have not dealt with these because they go out of the range of ordinary knowledge and the understanding founded on it. These things alone to some, but they do not usually speak about them, while the public view of much of those as alone is either credulous or incredulous, but in both cases without experience or knowledge. The more you go inward or upward, the more the view of things changes, and the outer knowledge science organizes takes its real and very limited place. Science, like most mental and external knowledge, gives you only truths of process. I would add that it cannot give you even the whole truth of process, for you seize some of the ponderables, but miss the all-important imponderables. You get hardly even the how, but the conditions under which things happen in nature. After all the triumphs and marvels of science, the explaining principle, the rationale, the significance of the whole is left as dark, as mysterious, and even more mysterious than ever. The skin it has built up of the evolution not only of this rich and vast and variegated material world, but of life and consciousness and mind and their workings out of a brute mass of electrons, identical and varied only in arrangement and number, is an irrational magic more baffling than any the most mystic imagination could conceive. Science, in the end, lands us in a paradox effectuated, an organized and rigidly determined accident, an impossibility that has somehow happened. It has shown us a lure, a material maya. Agatana, Gadana, Partiyasi, very clever at bringing about the impossible, a miracle that cannot logically be, and yet somehow is there, actual, irresistibly organized, but still irrational and inexplicable. And this is evidently because science has missed something essential. It has seen and scrutinized what has happened, and in a way how it happened. But it has shut its eyes to something that made this impossible possible, something that it is there to express. Art, poetry, music are not yoga, not in themselves things spiritual, any more than philosophy either is a thing spiritual or science. One might ask whether science itself has arrived at any ultimate truth. On the contrary, ultimate truth, even on the physical plane, seems to recede as science advances. Science started on the assumption that the ultimate truth must be physical and objective, and the objective ultimate, or even less than that, would explain all subjective phenomena. Yoga proceeds on the opposite view, that the ultimate truth is spiritual and subjective, and it is in that ultimate light that we must view objective phenomena. It is the two opposite poles, and the gulf is as wide as it can be.